think it's safe to say that a lot of people, one, don't even recognize it as a business.
But knowing it's a business that you can launch, make money, and help people is where really people struggle. I think they think it's a hobby. I didn't know it was an industry, to be honest.
People having their story and their testimony, but you know what? That's fine and dandy, but you better make sure you have a whole message that's clear, that's actionable, that go help somebody.
Nobody says, when I grow up, I want to be a motivational speaker. We all stumble into it, and sometimes you think about it like buying a car. I need a new car.
Hey, Walter, oh my God, we had an amazing weekend. You're on stage in Orlando, telling people about our peak performance code. And what I love the most, like every time you finish up on the stage, what's one of the first things we notice happen?
The first thing to notice after I leave the stage?
Maybe not from your perspective. I'm going to give it from my perspective. One of the first things that I know that I always get, people come right back and they're like, I want to be a speaker. How do I do it? Do you get that a lot? Because I get that because I'm always in the room with you.
Absolutely.
So
you get a lot of things in that ballroom, but every time I speak, absolutely, people want to be a speaker. So you can almost guarantee it. And very few actually do it because I think they don't know how or get the support they need. But we've had people that came to the back of their room, said, I want to be a speaker, and they're speakers, right? So I think the important thing is that they followed through and they were able to get some support early and get some traction.
yeah, so I was thinking about that, and as we're doing this series on how to get paid to speak, we get that question all the time. People are like, wow, how did you all do that? I've always imagined myself speaking. I always saw myself, speaking when I was in my 20s. You just did a whole coaching session with our speakers huddle. Didn't you just have that? You asked everybody in the huddle, I overheard you. You asked that question, when did you first think about becoming a professional speaker? Tell us about that.
That was a great conversation, and we coach speakers every week. And I did ask that question to our base. Some of them have been with us 6 years, 8 years, 3 years, or whatever. And I asked them, when did you first get the idea? And in many cases, one of our guys said 1988.
Wow.
And he didn't act on it until like the 2000s. So speaking is a thing where people have the idea, they've been thinking about it, but they never made it a career choice. Nobody says, when I grow up, I want to be a motivational speaker. We all stumble into it, and sometimes you think about it like buying a car. Like, I need a new car. I need a new car. I need a new car. Then one day, your car doesn't start. And then you say, oh, I got to go buy a car today. So speaking is similar. You can say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get around to do it, but then life gets in the way. But I'm thankful that we had people that were there for us when we were ready, and we're really here for people when they're ready to be a speaker. We got them.
Well, I would liken it to, as you say that you likened it to buying a car, I liken it to maybe being a car salesperson or being a realtor. When I think about a lot of times with realtors, most realtors did not grow up saying, yep, when I grow up, I'm going to be a realtor. Most of them, it became like a fallback career, a secondary career, because they had some experience selling and promoting, and then they decided, you know what? I love homes. It's a lucrative industry. Why not get into selling homes? And I'm going to say the speaking career is the same way. But now let's talk today about why do the people have the idea, I want to be a speaker, I want to do this as a lifestyle choice, or I want to do this as a passion, but they never make it into a money-making opportunity. What do you think? What's holding people back from realizing that it is a real industry, that it is a real product? I'm going to say a product because I think people get confused about it. Just like you sell homes, you're selling a message. What do you think is that thing that holds people back and not have that clarity?
It's that old saying, when it's all said and done, there's normally more said than done. And the truth is, I think a lot of people have the fantasy of being a speaker and either don't know anybody that can help them or just keep it in the fantasy phase. You and I, we're doers. We're not the ones that's going to sit around and say, well, we're going to do this and we're just talking. We're doers. And so for that speaker that really has a message, that really wants to impact others, I think it's about being selfless. I think it's selfish not to go out and tell your story. Because I think all of our stories were designed by God for us to go out and serve humanity. And I think it's really selfish when people have a story, know they should be speaking and don't do it, because think about all the people that they could have helped but didn't because they're being selfish. Oh, I'm too busy. My job is too comfortable, or I don't want to go through the struggle, or whatever is holding you back. It could be a million different things. It could be fear, but the truth is, we've helped so many people, and I know people have helped us. And I think about our destiny would not be the same if we don't run into a Desi Williamson. If we don't run into a Willie Jolly, if we don't run into a Keith Harrell, if we don't meet a Les Brown, these people sold into us. These people are like, look, if you want to be in this business, do this, take this step, execute this, execute that. And the fact that they were there for us, the old saying is when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. When we were ready, teachers appeared, right? And so I think that for anyone who has a message that wants to be a speaker, if they get serious about it and get intentional, it's a $13 billion industry. Why wouldn't you want to do it? You can make a whole lot of money, but you also can make a difference. To me, it is the greatest industry on earth. You tell your story, you help people, and make crazy money. What else are you doing, and why wouldn't you do it?
That's a good point. So I think it's safe to say that a lot of people, one, don't even recognize this as a business. I think a lot of times people just don't realize that, oh my God, I've discovered a good way to do something, some kind of method, some kind of methodology, some system that works for them. And they don't realize that, wait, I've really created a lifestyle or a way. And we call it a way around here. They've created this way that if they went and taught the masses, that they could really share it with millions and millions of people, and they don't realize it's a thing. Because that's really what a lot of times the people that come to us, they have discovered this formula, a system, a method that they are saying now that, you know what, I have these 5 steps, I have these 3 ways, I have this 7-step process. I think that's one of the most important things. So yes, I know you're always talking about like people having their story and their testimony, but you know what? That's fine and dandy, but you better make sure you have a whole message that's clear, that's actionable, that go help somebody.
Yeah, you have to have a clear message. You need to have a message that's helpful, but you also have to love what you do. And I think a lot of people don't understand that they can become a speaker, love what they do, help people, because a job, are you supposed to love it? Absolutely. I've been spoiled. I got a chance to play pro basketball until I was 30. And I remember getting on my knees praying to God, like, Lord, what can I do with the rest of my life that I love as much as playing basketball? And then someone gave me a microphone and I fell in love. And so not only can we help people, all this content on the inside of us. I've sit down with executives who lead businesses. They don't understand they have content on the inside of them that's dying to get out, literally, right? And so having a message, crafting a message, but knowing it's a business that you can launch, make money, and help people is where really people struggle. I think they think it's a hobby. I didn't know it was an industry, to be honest. My college basketball coach, Clem Haskins, when I left the University of Minnesota, which is the best university on earth, bar none, he says to me, Walter,
According to one person.
He says, Walter, stay focused. He says, Walter, you should be a motivational speaker. I was 21, 22 years old. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't have any idea that it was an industry, let alone a lucrative industry. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And we did some research and we found it, right? And we stumbled into it. And I'm so glad we did. So a lot of speakers, they don't really know that it's a real industry, and they have no clue how big of an industry it really is. Because if you have a story, if you want a speaker, if you knew what we knew about the speaking business and how big it really is and how it can change your life as you impact other people, you wouldn't hesitate, you wouldn't drag your feet, you would get engaged, and you would be very decisive and really join the motivational speaking industry, the coaching industry, the coaching and consulting industry. The training and development space is humongous, and it's really what our world needs more of. A lot of speakers, they don't really know that it's a real industry, and they have no clue how big of an industry it is.
What are you out there champion for? What are you out there that you want to go tell the world or that you care about the most? I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to our passion.
A lot of people can sing, right? And everyone in their family knows they can sing, but they never get into the entertainment industry. Speaking is no different.